Holistic Earth. The practice of necromancy, deeply rooted in history and intertwined with various cultures, underwent significant evolution over time, reflecting changes in societal beliefs, religious norms, and magical practices. In antiquity, necromancy emerged from shamanistic traditions, drawing upon the belief in communication with the dead to gain insight into the future or hidden knowledge. Ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Babylonia, Greece, Rome, and China all had records of necromantic practices, highlighting its widespread prevalence and cultural significance. The earliest literary account of necromancy can be found in Homer's Odyssey, where Odysseus consults the dead in the underworld for guidance. The vivid descriptions of necromantic rituals in the Odyssey underscore the elaborate nature of these practices, involving specific incantations, offerings, and rituals conducted in somber settings. These rituals often included elements symbolizing death and decay, reflecting a belief in the potency of morbid symbolism to facilitate communication with the deceased. However, necromancy was not universally accepted or condoned. In the Bible, necromancy is explicitly prohibited among the Israelites, who viewed it as an abomination and a practice associated with pagan nations. Despite such prohibitions, instances of necromantic practices persisted, as seen in the story of King Saul consulting the Witch of Endor to summon the spirit of Samuel for guidance. During the medieval period, necromancy became increasingly intertwined with Christian teachings and demonology. Practitioners, often members of the clergy or educated individuals, believed they could manipulate spiritual beings to achieve various ends, including influencing the will of others, creating illusions, and seeking knowledge of hidden truths. Medieval necromancy involved complex rituals, including the drawing of magic circles, recitation of conjurations, and offering sacrifices to summon and command spirits. The late Middle Ages and Renaissance witnessed a continued fascination with necromantic practices, albeit often cloaked in Christian symbolism and theological justification. Despite ecclesiastical condemnation, necromancers found ways to incorporate holy names and biblical references into their rituals, presenting them as prayers rather than spells. The proliferation of occult manuals and texts during this period reflects a growing interest in the esoteric and the forbidden, with necromancy occupying a prominent place alongside other magical arts. Overall, the historical evolution of necromancy reveals its enduring appeal and the complex interplay between religious, cultural, and magical beliefs. From its origins in ancient shamanism to its transformation in medieval Europe, necromancy has remained a potent symbol of humanity's enduring fascination with death, the afterlife, and the mysteries of the unseen world. Necromancy, as a term laden with mystique and intrigue, finds its roots deep in the annals of human history. Its etymology, drawn from the fusion of Greek words meaning dead body and divination, encapsulates its essence, the practice of magic involving communication with the deceased for the purpose of divination and seeking hidden knowledge. However, the practice extends beyond mere communication. It often involves summoning the spirits of the departed either as apparitions or visions, to glean insights into the future or unravel mysteries. Tracing the origins of necromancy leads us through the corridors of ancient civilizations, where it intertwined with the fabric of cultural and religious practices. In antiquity, necromancy bore semblance to shamanistic rituals, invoking spirits and communing with the realm of the dead. Such practices were widespread, permeating the societies of ancient Egypt, Babylonia, Greece, Rome, and China. The earliest literary depiction of necromancy is found in Homer's Odyssey, where Odysseus ventures into the underworld under the guidance of Circe, employing spells and rituals to summon the spirits of the deceased. The rituals associated with necromancy varied in complexity, from solemn incantations to elaborate ceremonies spanning days or even weeks. Practitioners adorned themselves with symbols of death, consumed morbid fare, and conducted rituals in somber settings such as graveyards or tombs. The choice of spirits to summon was governed by a belief that recently departed souls held clearer insights, with the efficacy of their counsel rooted in the knowledge they possessed in life or acquired in death. Despite its prevalence, necromancy was not without condemnation. Biblical injunctions among the Israelites and prohibitions within Christian doctrine attest to the aversion towards communing with the dead. The Witch of Ender's summoning of the spirit of Samuel at the behest of King Saul stands as a cautionary tale, illustrating the consequences of defying divine prohibitions. As societies evolved, so too did the practice of necromancy. Medieval Europe witnessed the synthesis of Arabic astral magic and Christian exorcism, giving rise to a more structured form of necromancy. Practitioners, often literate and educated, combined Christian rites with occult practices, seeking to manipulate spiritual beings for various ends, be it influencing the will of others, conjuring illusions, or uncovering hidden knowledge. The evolution of necromancy continued into the Renaissance era, where it intersected with philosophical and theological debates. Spells and rituals featuring holy names were employed with impunity, blurring the lines between prayers and incantations. Occult manuals of the time bear testimony to the amalgamation of diverse cultural and religious influences, as practitioners sought to harness supernatural forces within a Christian framework. In the modern era, necromancy persists as a concept, albeit often relegated to the realms of folklore and fiction. Contemporary practices such as seances and channeling echo its essence, as individuals seek to commune with the dead for insights into the future or revelations of hidden truths. Across millennia, necromancy endures as a touchstone of occultism, a testament to humanity's perennial fascination with death and the beyond. Its evolution mirrors shifts in cultural and religious landscapes, yet its core essence remains immutable: the quest for knowledge and power beyond the veil of mortality. Necromancy, with its roots intertwined deeply in antiquity, presents a fascinating glimpse into the mystical practices and beliefs of various ancient cultures. Across civilizations such as Egypt, Babylonia, Greece, Rome, and China, the art of communicating with the dead held significant sway. These early instances of necromancy were often intertwined with shamanic traditions, where practitioners sought guidance and insight from departed spirits, believing in their ability to impart hidden knowledge and divine future events. In Homer's epic poem, the Odyssey, we find one of the oldest literary accounts of necromancy. Here, the protagonist Odysseus ventures into the realm of the dead under the guidance of Circe, the sorceress, in a quest for wisdom and foresight. The vivid descriptions of nocturnal rituals, sacrifices, and invocations paint a picture of elaborate necromantic practices prevalent in ancient times. These rituals, ranging from the solemn to the macabre, often involved intricate ceremonies conducted in somber locations such as burial grounds. Necromancers employed an array of tools including magic circles, wands, talismans, and incantations to summon and communicate with the deceased. Symbolism played a crucial role, with necromancers donning the clothing of the dead and partaking in food symbolizing decay, such as unleavened black bread and unfermented grape juice. Furthermore, cultural beliefs surrounding necromancy varied. While some societies believed in the limitless knowledge of the dead, others, like the ancient Greeks and Romans, attributed limited knowledge to individual shades. Ovid's Metamorphoses even depicts a bustling marketplace in the underworld where spirits convene to exchange news and gossip, reflecting the cultural nuances surrounding the afterlife and communication with it. However, necromancy was not universally embraced. Prohibitions against such practices are evident in religious texts like the Bible, where the Israelites are explicitly warned against divination from the dead. Despite these prohibitions, instances of necromancy, such as King Saul's consultation with the Witch of Endor, are recorded, often with dire consequences reinforcing the taboo surrounding such acts. As civilizations evolved into the Middle Ages, necromancy continued to be a subject of fascination and condemnation. Medieval practitioners, often members of the clergy, believed in the manipulation of spiritual beings for various ends, including will manipulation, illusions, and acquiring knowledge of hidden things. The practice, condemned by the Catholic Church, was seen as conjuring demons and was often associated with maleficium or harmful magic. In the Renaissance era, necromancy underwent further transformations, with practitioners adapting ancient rituals to fit within new theological frameworks. Spells featuring holy names and biblical references were employed with impunity, blurring the lines between prayer and magic. The synthesis of diverse cultural influences gave rise to new rituals and incantations, as seen in occult manuals and texts of the time. Despite shifting beliefs and cultural contexts, the allure of necromancy endures, albeit in different forms. In contemporary society, practices akin to necromancy, such as seances and spiritualism, persist, hinting at humanity's enduring fascination with death, the afterlife, and the mysteries that lie beyond. Thus, necromancy remains a touchstone of occultism, a testament to humanity's enduring quest for knowledge and transcendence across the ages. Necromancy, as a practice steeped in ancient traditions and beliefs, finds its place within biblical narratives as both a forbidden act and a cautionary tale. The prohibitions against necromancy are explicit in texts such as Deuteronomy and Leviticus, where the Israelites are sternly warned against engaging in such practices. These admonitions are not merely moralistic but carry profound theological implications within the Israelite worldview. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verses 9 to 12, the Israelites are instructed upon entering the promised land to abstain from the abominable practices of the surrounding nations. Among these practices is the consultation of mediums or necromancers, who purportedly communicate with the dead to glean knowledge or insight into the future. Such activities are deemed detestable in the eyes of God, warranting severe consequences for those who partake in them. Similarly, in the book of Leviticus, practitioners of necromancy are condemned to death according to Mosaic law. The gravity of this punishment underscores the seriousness with which necromantic practices were viewed within ancient Israelite society. Despite these explicit warnings and penalties, instances of individuals defying these prohibitions can be found in biblical narratives, serving as cautionary tales of the dire consequences of delving into forbidden realms. One such narrative involves King Saul's ill-fated encounter with the Witch of Endor, as recounted in the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 28. Desperate for guidance before a crucial battle, Saul seeks out the aid of a medium, disregarding the divine injunctions against such practices. Through her necromantic rituals, the spirit of the deceased prophet Samuel is summoned, delivering a grim prophecy of Saul's impending doom. This tragic episode not only highlights the dangers of disobedience but also underscores the inability of necromancy to alter one's fate or circumvent divine will. These biblical perspectives on necromancy serve to reinforce the broader theological themes of obedience to God's commands, the limitations of human knowledge, and the consequences of straying from the righteous path. While ancient practices of necromancy may have held allure for those seeking supernatural insight or power, the biblical narrative unequivocally condemns such pursuits as contrary to the divine order. In examining these biblical prohibitions and narratives, one gains insight into the moral and theological frameworks of ancient Israelite society, as well as timeless lessons regarding the dangers of illicit magic and the importance of spiritual fidelity. During the early and High Middle Ages, the Christian context profoundly influenced the perception and practice of necromancy in Europe. The shift in perception regarding necromancy labeled it as maleficium, associating it with black magic or witchcraft, and the Catholic Church explicitly condemned it. Necromancy, once prevalent in antiquity with roots in shamanism and diverse cultural practices, now faced stringent scrutiny within the Christian framework. Medieval necromancy, often depicted as a synthesis of Arabic astral magic and Christian exorcism, embodied a complex amalgamation of rituals and beliefs. Arabic influences introduced practices based on celestial phenomena and fumigation, while Christian and Jewish teachings contributed symbols and conjuration formulas. This fusion reflected a nuanced approach to the manipulation of spiritual beings, primarily demons, and magical practices. Practitioners of medieval necromancy varied, ranging from members of the Christian clergy to non-clerical individuals, united by a belief in the manipulation of spiritual entities and access to arcane knowledge. Despite the condemnation by Christian doctrine, some aspiring clerics clandestinely engaged in necromantic rituals, leveraging their education and literacy to combine Christian rites with occult practices. The objectives of medieval necromancy encompassed will manipulation, illusions, and knowledge acquisition. Practitioners purportedly manipulated the will of others, conjured illusions such as reanimated corpses or material objects, and sought insights into future events through communication with demons. These endeavors were facilitated through elaborate rituals involving magic circles, conjurations, and sacrifices, as detailed in manuals of demonic magic. Accounts of necromantic practices during this period, albeit rare, offer glimpses into the diverse range of spellcasting and magical experimentation. Confessions of accused necromancers highlight the blend of Christian and occult elements in their rituals, showcasing a spectrum of beliefs and practices within medieval necromancy. Herbert Stanley Redgrove identifies necromancy as one of the chief branches of medieval ceremonial magic, distinct from black and white magic. However, such classifications diverge from contemporary interpretations, underscoring the evolving perceptions of necromancy over time. As the Middle Ages transitioned into the Renaissance, necromancy persisted, albeit with adaptations influenced by shifting intellectual and cultural currents. Spells featuring holy names and biblical references were employed with impunity, blurring the lines between prayers and incantations. The evolution of necromantic rituals reflected a synthesis of diverse cultural and religious traditions, demonstrating the resilience and adaptability of magical practices across centuries. At its core, medieval necromancy was driven by three primary objectives: will manipulation, illusions, and knowledge acquisition. These objectives were believed to be attainable through the manipulation of spiritual beings, predominantly demons, to achieve desired outcomes. Will manipulation, for instance, sought to influence the thoughts and actions of others, whether to instill love, hatred, or madness. Illusions, on the other hand, manifested as reanimations of the dead or conjurations of seemingly impossible phenomena, such as food or transportation. Knowledge, perhaps the most coveted pursuit, was purportedly acquired through communication with spirits, who offered insights into criminal activities, the location of objects, or glimpses into the future. The enactment of medieval necromancy rituals was a meticulous affair, characterized by the interplay of symbols, incantations, and sacrifices. Central to these rituals were magic circles, believed to empower and protect the practitioner from malevolent forces. These circles, often inscribed with symbols and letters representing a fusion of Christian and occult ideologies, served as metaphysical fortresses within which the conjurer could safely commune with the spiritual realm. Conjurations, the method by which demons were summoned into the physical world, relied heavily on the recitation of special words and gestures, often incorporating elements of Christian prayers or biblical verses. Sacrifice, a pivotal component of necromantic rituals, served as the payment for summoning, whether in the form of flesh, objects, or symbolic offerings. The meticulous adherence to time, location, and method in the procurement of sacrificial items underscored the gravity and precision with which these rituals were conducted. The scant confessions of individuals accused of necromancy offered glimpses into a world of arcane experimentation and spellcasting, characterized by a spectrum of practices ranging from the esoteric to the grotesque. Yet, these accounts are fraught with ambiguity, leaving scholars to ponder whether they reflect genuine practices or were shaped by the biases of interrogators. Nonetheless, they shed light on the diversity and complexity of medieval necromantic traditions, underscoring its enduring fascination and enigma. Herbert Stanley Redgrove posits necromancy as one of the chief branches of medieval ceremonial magic, alongside black and white magic, reflecting its central role in the occult landscape of the time. However, this classification diverges from contemporary frameworks, which often conflate necromancy with other forms of occultism. As medieval necromancy transitioned into the late Middle Ages and Renaissance periods, it underwent further evolution and adaptation, influenced by shifting theological paradigms and cultural contexts. Despite condemnation by religious authorities and societal taboos, the allure of necromancy persisted, manifesting in various forms throughout the ages, from seances and channeling to modern spiritualistic practices. In essence, medieval necromancy stands as a testament to humanity's enduring fascination with the mysteries of death and the unknown, weaving a tapestry of belief, ritual, and forbidden knowledge that continues to intrigue and beguile to this day. During the Renaissance period, there was a notable resurgence of interest in necromancy, albeit with adaptations and reinterpretations influenced by evolving legal, cultural, and scholarly perceptions. This era witnessed a complex interplay between the ancient traditions of necromancy and the changing intellectual landscape of Europe. Legal and cultural perceptions played a significant role in shaping the practice of necromancy during the Renaissance. While the medieval church had condemned necromancy as maleficium, or harmful magic, Renaissance thinkers began to approach magic with a more nuanced perspective. Spells and rituals featuring holy names were sometimes seen as prayers rather than illicit incantations, leading to a certain degree of impunity for practitioners. This shift allowed for a re-evaluation of necromancy within the context of Christian doctrine, albeit one that was often at odds with ecclesiastical law. The adaptation of rituals and spells was another key aspect of Renaissance necromancy. Occult manuals from this period often featured a synthesis of various cultural and religious traditions, incorporating elements from Arabic, Jewish, and Christian sources. For instance, the Munich Manual of Demonic Magic, a notable work from this era, combined Christian prayers with conjurations and sacrifices traditionally associated with necromantic practices. These adaptations reflected an evolving understanding of magic as a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, shaped by diverse cultural influences. Furthermore, Renaissance necromancy was closely connected to literary traditions and scholarly works of the time. Occult manuals often drew upon stories and motifs from classical mythology, medieval romances, and contemporary literature, framing necromantic rituals within a rich narrative context. Scholars who studied these texts likely compiled their own sourcebooks and manuals, synthesizing knowledge from a wide range of sources to create new spells and incantations. This process of cultural exchange and adaptation helped to integrate necromancy into the broader intellectual landscape of the Renaissance. Necromancy, as explored through its historical, cultural, and literary dimensions, reveals a rich tapestry of human fascination with the intersection of death, magic, and communication with the spiritual realm. From its earliest roots in shamanic practices to its depiction in ancient texts like Homer's Odyssey, necromancy has captivated the human imagination across diverse civilizations and epochs. In antiquity, necromancy flourished as a form of divination, with practitioners seeking guidance from the spirits of the deceased. Whether in ancient Egypt, Babylonia, Greece, Rome, or China, the belief in the ability to communicate with the dead persisted, shaping rituals and beliefs surrounding death and the afterlife. These rituals, often elaborate and imbued with symbolism, reflected a complex understanding of the boundaries between the living and the dead, as well as the desire to access hidden knowledge. The prohibition of necromancy among the Israelites, as outlined in the Book of Deuteronomy, underscores the perceived dangers associated with the practice. Despite the warnings, instances of necromancy, such as King Saul's encounter with the Witch of Endor, persisted, with biblical narratives highlighting the consequences of such forbidden acts. In the medieval period, necromancy evolved alongside Christian teachings and Arabic influences, becoming intertwined with astral magic and exorcism. Practitioners, including members of the clergy, sought to manipulate spiritual beings for various purposes, ranging from influencing the will of others to gaining knowledge about future events. The use of magic circles, conjurations, and sacrifices formed integral components of necromantic rituals, reflecting a blend of Christian and occult elements. The Renaissance witnessed a continuation of necromantic practices, albeit in a context shaped by shifting theological perspectives and literary influences. Occult manuals like the Munich Manual of Demonic Magic exemplify the synthesis of religious language and demonic invocation, suggesting a deliberate departure from ecclesiastical norms. As scholars and practitioners drew upon diverse sources and traditions, necromancy persisted as a subject of scholarly inquiry and mystical fascination. In the modern era, necromancy has taken on new forms, often associated with spiritualism and occult ceremonies. Contemporary practices such as seances and channeling evoke elements of necromantic tradition, as individuals seek to commune with the dead for guidance or revelation. Despite evolving cultural and religious contexts, necromancy remains a potent symbol of humanity's enduring quest to transcend the boundaries of mortality and access the mysteries of the afterlife. In conclusion, the study of necromancy offers valuable insights into the intersections of religion, magic, and cultural imagination throughout history. By examining its origins, practices, and societal attitudes, we gain a deeper understanding of human perceptions of death, spirituality, and the quest for transcendence. As we reflect on the implications of necromancy, we are reminded of the enduring allure of the supernatural and the perennial questions that animate human existence.